Shoot. Okay, I guess Trish, you're up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First thing I want to bring to your attention, and I have realized that I probably speak too fast, so I'm going to try to slow down a little bit. I know I give you a lot of numbers, and I'm used to looking at them every day, and so it's easy for me to just run through them quick. So I'm going to try to slow down a little. First thing I'm going to bring to your attention is the checkbooks. County checkbook as of yesterday had $684,795.54. The jail checkbook had $161,570.41. We have now, as of Tuesday afternoon, borrowed a total of $560,000 from our TAN. What I want to bring to your attention on that is the last warrant, which was mid-February. We borrowed $150,000 from the TAN, and the interest for the month of February, which is 2 weeks, is $362.05 on the TAN. So that kind of gives you an idea as to where we're going to be on the interest if you stop and think about it. Our county expenses are now at 15%. Our jail expenses are at 13% expended.
So we borrowed a total of 710,000 on the TAN so far.
No, 560,000.
560,000.
Yes.
This, and then I
As
thought
of
you
right
just
this
said
moment.
150.
Was in February. So if you look at the front of your sheet
I am.
on, I didn't mean to be condescending, I apologize. The MCRRC side, 150,000 was borrowed last warrant. This warrant, 110,000 for a total of 260. On the county side, which is on the left, we borrowed on Tuesday 300,000. That gives you a total borrowed at this point of 560,000.
Okay.
Make sense? Yep. Okay. On the next page, first of all, let me say that the books are sitting up there on that side.
Yeah.
They are complete and current as of yesterday afternoon. It shows each individual account with the interest for each individual account, and there's also totals in there for the specific reserve. For example, capital reserve, active reserve. There are totals. On your second page on your packet, you will see these totals all added up for February. You have the county interest, jail interest, ARPA interest, the jail reserves interest, all the county reserves interest added together. I did separate the health account interest because to me that was interesting. Opioid interest and the savings account interest. For the month of February, we collected $21,447.94 for all accounts. As you can see, that's down about $2,100 from last month. The reason is, of course, we have less money. Because
So
we're spending it.
should I be able to add all of these totals and receive the same number?
You should with exceptions. The
Exactly.
exceptions are, you're not going to have the county checkbook interest. You're not going to have the jail checkbook interest. You're not going to have the ARPA interest.
Well, it shows the ARPA interest here, I thought.
Correct. But you're not going to have, when you ask me about those sheets,
Okay.
it won't be in there. So it's the first three, and that's kind of why I put them in the beginning. Let's see what else. Okay, so now we are ready to go on to the warrants. And to make it a little bit more comprehensive, I thought that I would do a little bit more explaining. For the warrant for the county, we have expended a total of $345,234.31 as of that happens today. Out of that amount, we are refunded back into the general account from the reserve account 0259 of $10,835.85. The futures technology account, 0266 of $1,925. The active reserve account, 0254 of $7,999.42. The restricted reserve account, 0250 797.50. And then the jail general fund, all payroll comes out of the county general fund, the county general checkbook. And then the jail reimburses the county. And so that's $52,088.34. So the net amount coming out of the county account is $271,688.20. But our total bills are again the $345, $234.31. Does that help a little bit, hopefully, in making more sense?
So what you're saying is, you move from capital reserve
Correct. Into the
Yeah,
general.
to
Yeah.
pay bills.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I just went through, and that's what you're gonna sign, and this is the number that you.
Okay. So the general fund, the accounts payable warrant in the amount of $345,234.31.
So moved. Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Okay, so now on to the jail warrant.
Give us a second to
Sure thing, yeah,
sign that.
no problem.
All right, we're ready to go, Chris.
Okay, for the jail account, the total invoices, including payroll, $106,545.84. Out of that, we're refunding out of 0223, that is community corrections, just for your information, $1,713.02. So the net out of the jail account is $104,832.82. But again, total invoicing $106,545.84.
So, where is it?
It's back further into the jail section. The front is gonna be county. And once you get to jail, which is gonna be even further, almost.
Why can't that be put?
I certainly could, and that's kind of the part of the question.
It makes sense to have it, what we're going to be doing in a meeting.
In the front,
Right, next to each other.
that'd be fine.
I
We can do that.
think having it hunt for it. Now,
That's fine, and that's kind of the idea is to try to figure it out so it's easier for you. So it's in the yellow. this
Yeah,
one.
sure.
Yes, sir.
So I'm gonna ask for a motion on the accounts payable for the jail and reserves for $106,545.84.
Yes, so moved.
Second,
All in favor?
I just have a wicked stupid question. Maybe Bill can answer it. No, I'll put the poor chief on notice here. What is the bee whisperer? That's right.
I'll let Bill get on that. What's the big whisperer? He
What's
was.
the bee whisperer, boss?
A man that whispers to the bees.
That's right. So, the
Okay.
bees had to be ordered, now, and so,
They had to be what?
ordered now.
Oh,
The
okay.
our bees all
So
died.
we bought new bees.
Yeah,
Correct.
Okay.
we whispered to them too much.
Okay.
So Holly's gonna try that again, and she's gonna have a different schedule of working on it. Where she does it alone and see how it makes them, but bees are an important thing for a garden.
Yeah, no, I'm not doubting it. I just thought it was kind of, I thought Jason would be.
and we have to
Yeah.
find some things. I don't know.
Okay.
Just I have a question before we leave for finance.
Yes, sir.
We were talking the other day and I was confused when you were talking to me. We undesignated funds, what is the balance on that?
It's, and I don't have that exact number. I apologize. I should approximately around 400,000-ish.
How much?
400,000.
Okay,
The number that sticks in my head is 430, but I'd have to actually look to
yeah,
be sure.
Can you look?
I can,
Yeah.
I can. Basically, it's gonna be, and actually, we can probably. No, I would have to look at it. So what it is gonna be what's in the account minus the, um, what we just spent.
what prompts my question is because for 10 years, we more or less had about $500,000.
Right,
And when anytime we got down to around there, we'd go to the borrowing the money
Mhm.
on the TAN.
Right.
So I want to make sure we continue that process like we had, because I don't want to be like the homeless not having a house, or homeless not having any money. And
and
it's kind of a rainy day fund. If the boiler blows up, roof starts leaking, something, we have 100,000, 200,000 or 300,000 to take care of it.
And that's exactly why, and I'm glad you bring that up. That's exactly why the checkbook, when I read the amount, and you can see on your front page of your packet, shows just under 700,000. And that doesn't reflect the money that I moved that is in the warrant, the front page of the warrant, because it hadn't been done yet. So there's around 700-ish thousand or so, and then we spent out under 300,000.
So just so I'm sure in my mind,
Mhm.
when it gets down around half a million, 600,000, we're gonna go to TAN instead of keep spending out of that account.
Correct, yes, and I understood what you
Oh,
were
we
saying.
never spend out of that account. We always, that's the purpose of the TAN. So
Right.
we always have our money basically sitting. you know.
That's the real point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
And what he's trying to reflect is that I didn't understand that that's what you wanted to do, so I was gonna spend it down to almost zero and then borrow. And he brought that to my attention, so when I borrowed on Tuesday, I borrowed the full amount that we needed.
Do we,
So-
have you borrowed out of our reserve, out of our undesignated funds so far to pay bills instead of borrowing on the TAN?
That's what I had been doing, yes, which, yes,
And have you put that? So now you've got to
So
borrow
you
from the
want-
TAN to put back in those accounts.
right, so I'm around $70,000 less than the 500,000 that you want. At this point. In the reserve, in the undesignated. That makes sense. I can get you the exact number, but it's approximately $430,000 on
Yeah.
undesignated rate.
We just need to keep in mind that we can't want to keep that $500,000.
But, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but, because we always utilize the TAN note. I didn't realize this. I'm just coming up to speed, so stop me at any moment. But I mean, the whole purpose of the TAN note is that we use that to secure our, call it rainy day funds, if you will.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, being a bean counter, I guess, is this starts to get a little confusing. So my question to you is, would you need to borrow from the TAN note now to put back what we've used from these other accounts? Have you done that yet?
So let me start from scratch to see if I can explain it. When the first of the year, we still had money left over from the taxes. And there was, I can't remember the exact amount, but somewhere around $1.5 million.
Yeah.
And I've been spending for the warrants out of that money. It was my intention to take it down to almost zero, not realizing what you wanted.
Yeah.
So when Bill sat with me last week and explained that, so when I did this warrant, I borrowed pretty much the full amount.
Right,
Which were just under the 500,000. And when the next time I borrow, I'll get the extra to make sure that we have a full 500,000 if that's acceptable.
Yeah.
The
I mean, I
years
can do
gone
it
by, Trish, once the year ended, I was always asking about what's a balance. Well, we do that because at the end of the year, we kind of beef up the reserves.
Right.
But and when we stop, that money is almost untouchable. You know, we want to keep it there, we want to keep it in a sound financial picture. So we don't want to get, I think what you were doing. In your mind, you were saving us interest, but actually we're doing something we don't like to do, is spend down the undesignated funds.
Right.
Well, I'm just thinking of it in an auditor's vision, not that I'm an auditor, you know what I mean? But at this point now, it's like money's moved here, then it goes back here, you know what I mean? It just makes it very
Yeah.
cloudy, you know, so. But I get it, okay,
Yep.
okay.
So, and I do understand what you're saying now, and apologies that I did not understand, but I think we'll be all set. And the next warrant, when I do borrow for the warrant, I will take an extra, I'll figure out exactly, but around an extra 70,000 to make sure that we're at that 500,000 threshold.
And can I get the, I don't know if I'm missing it, the year to date on all the departments, I have the jails here, but I don't have the other departments, year to date.
So the way I put the packet together, unless I screwed it up, which I'm gonna, the everything for
Did I miss
county
it?
is in the front. And it should be right there. It's 10 pages long. And it's immediately after these ones with the lines.
Absolutely my mistake, thank you.
No problem. And then after everything for the county is done, then the jail is done. Commissioner Johnson asked me if I could put the warrant for the jail towards the front. So I'm thinking in my mind, if you don't have a problem, I'll put that warrant in the front, but I'm gonna leave it here too. So it kind of separates it to make it easy. I'm just trying to make it so it's very transparent if possible. And I know it's different, so it's harder for you to look at.
All right, we're all set?
Do we need to, did you vote on the,
I'll move that, we approve the finance report.
that was it.
Okay.
Second,
All in favor?
yep,
Thank you very much, folks.
thank you.
You want to second that and then
Yes, I,
there's.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Good morning.
HR is here. Good morning, thank
morning.
you so much. So I'm ready to just share with you that what's been going on in the last 2 weeks is I made an adjustment to Joshua Staples' original change in salary. The request came in and it was off a few cents, so they made an adjustment, let me know, and I've done that. So his new rate of pay should be $28.53 effective February 2nd.
So noted,
And it was $28.35, so it was just on.
we were jipping him.
I did it again by $10.09.
We gotta get money where we can.
So he gave him a retro. John Shirk got his second installment on his sign-on bonus of $7,500. I issued that for this payroll. I'm very pleased to say the W-2 issues have been resolved. The last version has been issued. I've talked to several employees. I sat down with them on one-on-one, which was very rewarding because of, I call it the debacle. And I've got it straightened out with iSolve. So hopefully I've tickled my calendar for December of next year to just touch base with them, make sure that everything is all set to go. And I will periodically throughout the year too, to make sure.
So this last one we received.
Is a good one?
Is a good one.
It's a good one.
So just to share a little bit on that, because it is called a W-2C. And I talked to Maine Revenue Service, I talked to an attorney to make sure that how iSolve is set up. That we as an employer participating in Maine PERS, we have options. Waldo County has opted to have it be a post-tax. And so we do have that right. And we put it back to a post-tax in iSolve in calculating individual employees' pay per pay period. So we're consistent with what Waldo has done for as long as you've been a member of Maine PERS, is my understanding. When I looked back at the Bangor Savings payrolls, that's what they did. So I amended it to go back to what the historical data was. So we're all set with
So
that.
sorry you got into that mess.
Well, I just wasn't familiar enough. I knew what it should be, but I didn't know the legalities behind what drove it. to be that way. But I talked to Maine PERS, I talked to Maine Revenue, I talked to our attorney. I really wanted to make sure that when I said, in short, don't argue with me, do it.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to make sure I had something. So, back
You know,
up.
you think you're gonna get it worked out, so it's simplest.
I do think it is a convoluted process. Like, for example, when I go to set up a man, I mean, not to take a lot of time, but when I go to set up, we had an employee that got promoted to a supervisor role. To set that employee up as a supervisor, you would think it would be just as simple as going in, opening up his profile and clicking a couple boxes that says, you know, give him managerial rights, right? And then I go into each individual employees and go to the manager box, come up with a list of names that I get to choose to say, yes, Chad is their supervisor. It wasn't that simple at all. I had to go through another I call it tab, set him up under organizations and managers, and then click this and click that, then go back out. If that piece was clunky, I thought. But I think in short, I think if once I understand how it was set up and what drives it, which I know each pay component is driven by the bargaining contract, just I don't know how it was programmed to capture all that. And they pre-populate holidays based on the contract. But it's an assumption that every employee in that contract works a 12-hour shift, and that's not the case. And so I'm streamlining some of that. Sorry if I'm talking kind of loud. I get all excited about HR stuff and I get talking loud. So I've been working with iSolve to say 3 of these employees do not work historically a 12-hour shift. They're at 8 hours. And so I have to push back a little bit to say, we need to set them up differently so it will be automatically populate at 8, not 12. So once you work out some of these little kinks, I think it will streamline. I think we do need some of the supervisors. One I've been working with this week, which was a hectic week because of the weather and additional deadlines. But I'm retraining on the supervisors on what they log as work time when they do a holiday, and what pay they get for holiday and comp time. And so I do think there's an opportunity to retrain them, as well as an opportunity for me to be trained on what the managers are doing at their location. So right now, I think because I've only been here 6 weeks, I just finished my 3rd payroll. I think it's premature to really say. I do think this how to set up a manager is terrible. That is very, I'm just glad it's not like all the time. But no, I think once I learned to move around, do I think there's easier programs out there? I've always worked with they call it TAMS, a time and attendance system. That one, just because I'm familiar with it for 14 years, it just seemed easy, but I was not the one designing it, editing it, uploading it. I just was an end user. And that seemed pretty easy. Like I said, you just go out to the employee, you pull up his record and drop down to his right there on the initial screen. It wasn't this back.
Do you suppose one of the things that like screws us up is where we've got multiple unions and different pay rates for pay times, and that doesn't, that's.
No, I think it's all on. I think of programming, and that's what this is the programming behind the scenes. I'm using the program, but the programmer, how it was originally deployed and set up, they had too tight restrictions on it. And as I'm starting to find errors or asking questions, they're telling me, oh, I can turn that. I get like an employee editing their own time. So if they take a vacation, they've got asked a month ago for vacation days, they've gotten approved for those 7 hours. So it automatically populates for that day. But as that day comes closer, they work a few of those hours. It's not letting the employee adjust their time. And that's not something payroll should have to do. It's not something the supervisor should have to do. The employee should be able to adjust their time. It kicks it to the supervisor, and then the supervisor can say, hey, Annette, you know, you didn't come in at all. Why do you have 4 hours logged as work time? Then that should be questioned at that time, but not having to have it come to like a payroll.
Yeah, no, you don't know.
Right, I don't know. I'm assuming the supervisor. So I swear I was saying a moment ago about it being a wonderful opportunity for retraining. Especially, and it is a great idea. It's been deployed for a year. Now I had talked with a couple of the managers about, okay, if you've been working with it for a year, let's sit down and give me some feedback. Let's meet with iSolve again and say, hey, this is what we've experienced throughout this past year. Can we do this? Can we do that? And
You might get an earful.
Yeah, I know, I
I
know.
was talking to Annette the other day, a week ago maybe. And she was telling me that she has a convention coming up where there's
Oh,
Several-
yeah, HR convention.
several payroll companies there. I asked her to look around and talk around and see if there's anything out there that would be interested in.
I truthfully can't say I've had employees come to me raving
Yeah.
about that, maybe raving in a wrong way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right from the get-go, so.
And Tuesday morning was, to be totally honest, was just so hectic and felt so pressured because I thought I had a great plan. I got a lot of things done on Friday. I came in Monday and I'm telling everybody, I'm gonna have payroll lockdown at the end of today because I thought I had streamlined a few things. And then new deadlines came up and then there was a couple entries on 3 employees' timesheets. I was like, wait a minute, this how can, and you know, this can't be. I see holiday entries, regular hours entered, and then comp time entered, all for the same 12 hours. I said, geez, that's 36 hours. We can't do that.
Yeah, really.
So,
Oh,
Right,
I'm spending a lot of time with the supervisor and how they understand things to be entered and so forth. So that's an audit process, definitely, but I think it's a training process. If I didn't have to ask a question about something else, I wouldn't have probably found those mistakes.
so just a dumb question of point. So Betty's timesheet, I'll pick on you, Betty, says that she was on vacation on Tuesday. But she's also using some of her comp time, but a supervisor has checked her sheet and the department head. And nobody picked up on.
That's where I'm learning on who is at that level. The scenario I just gave you about like the 3 entries for the holiday. I'm not sure if there was someone over this line supervisor that had audited that piece of it. I'm not sure. I'm still working that one out.
Because I mean, technically, when it comes to you, it should have been vetted twice, all set,
Yeah.
kind of Hail Mary and move on.
Yeah, so my understanding with the comm center is that there's a line, I call a line supervisor or a shift supervisor that audits it, then it goes to the director. He takes a look at them. And to me, that is it. When it comes to me, I'm just looking for an employee. I really should only be focusing on employees that have terminated. I'm focusing on paying them out their sick and their vacation or whatever the benefits are, making sure their benefits are turned off and all that. I should really only be focused at that point. For one, the employee, there's an accountability at the employee level to know how to fill out their timesheet. And if they don't, they should be going to their supervisor. And if the supervisor needs assistance, that's when they should come to me and say, hey, Nat, I need a refresher, or how do we record this? And in time, when they feel more confident in my skill set with working with iSolve. But it really shouldn't be, me as an auditor, really.
do you think that, especially in the comp center, where it seems to be confusing? That it not be bad idea to have supervisors meet with you?
Oh, no, yes, that's why I've been talking with folks on Commissioner Johnson. Oh, absolutely. They very supportive of that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just they're all very supportive. They've been wonderful with me too. I'll say why, and really can't do that. I say it nicely, but it really is what it's putting down to. You think it makes sense that we should be logging 36 hours for one shift?
One tag, huh?
Oh, no, now that you look. So I think it is just a training. I don't think there's any malicious intent by any means.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah,
I
no,
didn't
no,
mean to
no,
imply
I
that.
think it's just probably rushing, trying to get the times in. Another one too is like the sheriff's office. They have those 24/7, 365 shifts, and working with them, and the supervisor there was very supportive. It's just been fabulous. He walked me through how to do my own time sheet. So in different ways and how to move around.
Yeah.
Oh no, I think it's one is my priority is I need to meet with, so I've been pulling some information together that has been populated in iSolve, and then and I've talked to iSolve about this, is meeting with them and tell me how is this set up in the background? How is this programmed? What drives this? What does comp time mean? Is it calculating pay, or is it calculating comp time to go into a bank to be used later?
Yeah.
And so these are all, I'm thinking I'm getting a flow of what I see and what was logged. This morning, I was in looking at people's timesheets now that they've been issued and paid. I will be able to look and say, okay, I see they put 8 hours in comp time, so it's not comp time earned, it's not comp time pay, they want it to go into a bank and I see it populate, but I think some of the terminology for me in my history. Is, comp time pay is very clear, I worked it, I want you to pay me. Or comp time bank would be easy, just call it comp time bank these hours.
Yeah.
Maybe changing some of those terminologies would be easier in
Yeah.
communicating. But I'd ask, I want feedback from the employees for one, what do they find working, what would they change about it? So they've been a year doing it, 26 pay periods, so they're going to be the subject matter experts. And then, of course, the supervisor, and then, so going back to the employee being able to edit their own time after vacation or sick time is approved, that was locked down to stop an employee from doing that. And I'm thinking that's really, to me, is called micromanaging, and I just don't think that's a good thing. So they turned that feature off. So we're gonna test it next pay period if the opportunity comes up. So yeah, I think it, for me, just because I wasn't here at all last year for it, working out some of these kinks and asking more questions while we have the program. But I do think going back to the supervisory to complement that with this 1095 issue, that's setting up an employee with benefits that's added and family members to their plan. That is convoluted too. That's like the same type of thing as setting up a manager. Before you even set them up, you have to go to another screen, add the whole list of their family members and details about that. So then when you go in to turn on the benefit, you then get to have options that automatically pop up because you went to this screen. Well, why not just have it all right there in that one screen? Why this back and forth?
It's a.
Yeah, you get a payroll program for me to make things simple. And that isn't as the administrator.
Well, Bill's right. I think, I hope you're attending both days, whatever days.
Oh, yeah, I haven't registered yet. I was just wanted to wait to see. I wanted to pass probation
I
first.
think we should pay.
We were told that, that Bangor Bank was not doing it anymore. We're told that. I don't know that that'd be an absolute fact. I don't think any of us do. Do you?
No, that's what I mean.
Years
And-
we had that, and I never had a problem.
Yeah, I did ask a manager when I first was working, like my first 2 weeks, that first pay period. I had asked the manager and he was really good. He wouldn't commit one way or the other. He says, well, like with anything, the nice generic term statement of, it's hard for change regardless.
I mean, it's-
Oh, okay. I just took it as he wasn't committing one way or the other. If he was happy with Bangor statement or so he's happy with ISOL.
no, truly, I think
Yeah.
it's been a challenge. I'm cleaning that up,
Yeah,
put it mildly, since the beginning, and I hope,
yeah.
and I think we should.
So
pay for the
maybe it's
registration.
something that was kind of sold to us and we didn't realize how complex it really was.
Well, when I asked some staff members the question, well, you want a committee to pull this together and deploy it and work on it, and I wasn't 100% confident if I knew the answer. If there was, say, a group of 4 people with the HR person, the finance person, a couple directors that sat, and a couple employees, because there really should be someone representing the unions at these meetings to talk about this and represent how their pay component. I haven't vetted that out any further. I asked it a couple times, didn't get like a real clear answer. But there is an employee up in the sheriff's office that for their group has been just fabulous. She's just fabulous. She's my contact there and she will reach out to the employees if I have questions and that I can't get a hold of them, but she's really been, I say it all the time, she's probably sick of me hearing it, but I can't tell you as a new employee to have that resource has been really, it's given me a nice sense of
Yeah.
peace. If she doesn't know, she says, I'll come down and help you figure it out, or you can come out and we'll move around. That's good to know.
When is your HR conference?
In May, it's May, the first week, I think it's May 5th through, it's a 4-day. One day I get free because I am a member of a local chapter in Augusta, KVHRA. And it's sure, I didn't have I like to advertise again. And that's in May. And it's 3 full days of training, refreshers, but the vendors, they have one great big huge banquet hall just set up with vendors for all sorts of different benefits. And I have to remind myself, I'm there to go to the workshops, just not talk to the vendors and learn all about the benefits and what you can do for employees and whatnot. But I think it's a wonderful program as well, worth the $800 they charge for it.
I'm gonna make a motion right now that we pay the registration for her to go attend
Sure.
all 4 days of the conference. That's my motion.
Motion, second, all in favor?
I was gonna pay for one day. Oh, thank you so much.
No, bring back some good info.
Bring back a new payroll system.
Yeah.
I definitely will, but just rest assured that if I do, my approach really is what I was just saying. We have a couple of the, we have somebody from each group, each line, org chart, part of the org chart, sitting in on that committee because we're all using it. It's not a silo.
Yep.
And then we vet it out and we're.
Yeah, I'm sure they would appreciate that.
Yeah, so I am pleased this is to also, yesterday I met with a loss control representative from MMA. And because the prior HR person did set this up, we are in what they call a premium plan. That means that we as an employer are doing everything we possibly can according to MMA standards to provide a safe environment, which means policies, training, safety, equipment. So we save 10% on our premiums because of that. So they have 3 tiers and we're at the tier 3. And I think it was a
This
10%.
is workman's comp.
Workers' comp, yes, correct. I should have clarified that, sorry. And so I was really excited about that because that is one of my background was a good quarter of my job was being very proactive and ergonomics and handicapped accessibility and things in the way. And sometimes I probably took it too strongly. Like I keep my peripheral vision keeps looking at those chairs in front of the door. To me, that's like it's in the door access. It should be moved out of the way, you know. But OSHA says that as long as it can be moved, it's good. But still in a fire, someone could trip over the chair type of thing. So anyway, those are the type of things. So I'm excited about getting involved with MMA on this project. Not only that, but they have 2 grants that he was telling me about that's for safety. And I'm going to look into that and apply for some of that. And just ask, he's gonna come back and do a walkthrough with me because one of the criteria is, which they didn't do last year because he was very new, is he does a walkthrough and sort of an inspection, a site inspection of each one of our locations. So I will reach out to the managers and try to get that scheduled in the summer. Because the program restarts September 1st, we need all our ducks in a row to qualify again for this savings. But also it's just, I think it really is exciting because it shows that we're really watching out for our employees. So I'm really appreciative that MMA has all this in place because they too want us to save us money, but also the employees are safe, they're at work providing the tasks that we need. So I'm really excited about that. So on to recruitment, thinking of employees. So I have 2 recruitments going. The primary one, because it's a department head, the facilities manager, I have extended that to next Friday, March 10th. We have gotten some great responses. I'm pleased through Indeed, a couple public interest in it, a couple internal, so I'm really pleased with that. But that's to allow me time to work on the deeds clerk part-time position at the Registry of Deeds, and she had a wonderful response on that position, and that closes tomorrow. And so I'll be working with her. I have historically had a process in place. It's because you do participate in Maine PERS. I like to talk with the supervisors that when you do interviews, and this is what you share. So when folks come in, they know that what they're getting into and what could impact them, like the Windfall Elimination Act, for example. Would it impact them? Would it not? That type of thing. So I'm hoping Stacy will meet with me
Who do
next
we
week.
advertise with?
We advertised with Indeed
Yeah.
and then internal. I sent an email out to all employees right now. That's where it was. We got a good qualified.
Because
candidate on
there's
paper.
one you see on TV all the time lately.
Well, there's
Something
different-
jobs at Maine.
Yeah, jobs in need. I've tried using them in the past
Yeah.
and I just, even when I was a recruiter for a large employer, I just never had good luck with that.
Okay,
Even also just to stay, because I do like supporting the local chambers and because the employer was a member, I participated in a couple chambers. I never vetted out anyone to apply to those, but it's good camaraderie and.
right, yeah,
When you go to the chamber's website and you look at their jobs, you think of all the employers that are members of a chamber, you come up with 1,000 jobs listed. I haven't never, but it's good to have the word out there. The only thing I did fall down on, I shouldn't say fall down, one thing I wanted to do is, I've always loved doing is, once you've designed a job posting, I like printing them off. And then when I go into the different stores or into different public buildings that have bulletin boards, I like to ask if I can post those jobs just to get the word out. Because by word of mouth, sometimes people will say, hey, did you know that Waldo County is looking
Yeah.
for? But I haven't, I call it falling down on my job on the recruiting side.
no.
I was very pleased on the part-time because I wondered about part-time, but it was great response. And I think I've gotten 10 applications already for that,
Good.
just from Indeed. So I'm no internal, but Indeed. So I'm hoping she'll come up with a qualified. when I glanced at them briefly, it definitely has an office type background from folks. So that's where I am with the recruitment piece.
Excellent.
Does that pretty well do it? They've
does.
got a lot of stuff on the
Yeah,
agenda.
No, that's all my exciting news for now.
Okay, well, thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
Thanks, bye.
Have a good day. Okay, chief, sorry to keep you waiting.
No
guys.
problem.
Sorry.
No problem.
Teach off.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
So the saga of the vehicles continue.
You're
No.
kidding, right?
No.
They were on the train that wound up in Ohio.
Right, I wish I could say that they're not even being built, they're not taking orders. The dealers can't even give us pricing on, we have no Ford bids. Nothing to report on that. We bid out, Cody did a great job. Cody went far and wide, but at the end of the day, if the Ford dealerships, every Ford dealership's in the same boat, every Ram dealership's in the same boat. Every Chevy dealership's in the same boat. And Cody does have some pricing. I'm just trying to give you a generic overview. Ram, they turned on their bid system, yesterday, Cody? Yesterday afternoon, they turned it on, but they cannot place an order and they can't tell you when they're gonna show up, but they can give you a price.
For an imaginary truck.
Yes. Yep, and then the only truck that actually has four wheels and a set of keys that we could actually touch right now is the Chevrolet. In a full-size truck in Barney's out of Pittsfield. Gave us a
But these aren't police.
They're not.
models,
They're
nothing. It's just,
they're
it's,
not.
it's a truck anybody could buy on the
Yes,
street.
yeah, and this is what we were dealing with. So when we got those pursuit rated F-150s, I was like, okay, great, we're getting somewhere now. But those happened to be what they had ordered for their own stock, the dealership.
Yeah,
So those things had been ordered a year or whatever in advance. It still took us till the end of this year to get the darn things. So I don't know. We could be creative. We did buy one of the Chevys last year. Yeah. We bought it and we put that with like a non-primary patrol function. I've identified Cody and I have talked a bunch. We've identified a couple of spots where we could maybe use a couple of them. But so that's, and of course, the other piece is obviously, the price point.
I'm sitting here like, can I
Yeah.
drop the number?
Yes, well, the imaginary truck is
For a Chevy or a Ram? Okay, for a Ram.
the
It's
imaginary
make-believe.
Ram is the make-believe is 36,913 per unit. And where's this number? Okay, and the Chevrolet is 42,905. And no SUVs from Ford. no.
That was gonna be my next question. You read my mind.
Nope.
What about anything but a,
We asked for everything.
so we can't find employees nowadays or vehicles?
Well, I guess it works out that way.
Oh, that's right. No, with their new vehicles.
Right. So my only,
Can we get a price from Ford?
no, Ford did not give us any prices on anything, because they can't even get into their system to do it.
And we had distributed to four different Ford suppliers.
And, if you can get one of them to,
So. And Matt, I like to ask a really stupid question, so I'm gonna, like. What about a large bar like state police?
uh-huh.
Do we know anybody? Well, I mean, we all know people, but I mean, is there any way we could hook up with somebody else's wagon
So
or?
and we did that with those trucks, that actually, when the state does their vehicle bidding, the way I understand it from Tim Seymour at Darlings, they actually take delivery of the state police vehicles, so they'll do like a 2-year bid cycle.
Yeah.
Or whatever, and so you'll have that referred to as you'll get state bid pricing.
Mhm.
So we get to tag along on that when we get those pricing on those units that we order. so we are hitching horses. so to
Okay,
speak.
okay.
So
okay.
it's, I guess what my thought process here is, I know I've been able to hunt around. I'm not convinced that Tim doesn't have something somewhere in the pipeline. At Darling's. I'm having a hard time just, the last couple of years, I'm having a hard time placing an order for something that I have no idea when it's gonna show up and tying up our funds, you know.
Well,
that
we've done that.
We've done it. I would I know 2 or 3 years ago, at the beginning of the pandemic, we went out and kind of piecemealed it. And we just went out and tried to make a deal and see what we could do. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now. It's very reminiscent. In fact, it's, at least they're being honest about it now.
What was our bid for? How many vehicles?
We did up to 5 units. We had budgeted.
5 units, were we specific? Well, not that it matters, but I mean,
Right. We were specific, we said, so we did the Ram 1500, because we have history with that.
Yep.
We've got good history with it. We did the F-150 pursuits that we have, we just got, and we did the
Non-hybrid Explorer.
the non-hybrid Explorer, just because we've had some mechanical nightmares with those.
Really? Okay.
We haven't gleaned the fuel efficiency that we really wanted to out of this, and just at any rate. So when I designed this piece of the budget, we went up to 5, it was predicated on 5 units at last year's pricing, plus upfitting costs and equipment. Of course, the prices came in higher, which is, we hopefully
We
could
figured.
offset through trade. That's what I was trying to bank on that. But yeah, it's, so every one of those vehicles, we said up to 5 units, I guess, so we could do if we had to do a combination thereof, or we didn't.
So what, Matt, what's your actual recommendation this morning?
Well, as we're trying to put some people in, we're trying to get the new vehicles on the road. We at least need a couple, I think sooner than later. I think that we should go forward with a plan to maybe go up to 2 Chevys. To put those in positions, to actually deploy those on a non-primary patrol function. And those are the,
when you say non-primary patrol, Matt, talk to me like I don't know what you're talking about.
sure, I'm talking about like the school resource officer who's not out on patrol all the time, but just, goes up to school, might have
And I
to.
don't mean to downplay a position, God knows I'm on camera.
No,
So why do I need to make sure that the school resource officer who will not be in pursuit
mhm.
needs a new vehicle? Why couldn't he?
I have to put in something, I just,
Right.
and that's why I'm saying it would be a non-pursuit rated vehicle.
But I mean, why wouldn't we? Yeah, I get it. I'm thinking the deputies are on the road, like in harm's way. Not that I'm downplaying that
No.
position, make no mistake.
Yep.
But I mean, I'm just thinking I'd rather somebody that's on the beat all the time
Mhm.
have a new up-to-date vehicle.
Yep.
It's just where I'm going.
And
I know I've shot myself in the foot, but
No, that's fine, and I'm trying to accomplish kind of 2 things here, Commissioner. I'm trying to,
the school refunds us.
they do.
Okay.
They do.
We are video, aren't we?
No, and we do charge, when I do the budget sheet for the cost analysis, they do reimburse us. for
Yeah,
the
okay.
cost. The other piece I'm looking at, I already pulled, Cody's, he had a pursuit rated, SUV, we put it on, pulled it from him, put it on the road.
Okay,
And so I'm like, I can put him in one of those because he's not in the primary patrol function, and he's fine with it.
we
He
can
does-
get you a Prius.
Right. But so that's what I'm thinking, at least in the short term, to try to move on ones that are available. And then I can take Cody around and introduce him to some of the folks I know in the vehicle business, and just so they recognize his face too. And we can try to make some deals. We can go and kick some tires up at see what Tim's got on the lot, or maybe learn a little bit more as far as the Rams are concerned too.
Did you
But
guys really love the Rams?
I wouldn't say that. I think I loved them in the sense of maintenance costs or lack thereof. And I loved them in the sense of residual value.
Mm.
I really am a proponent of the pickup trucks for those two reasons. When you start talking about fuel, when it comes to police style driving, it seems like even the smaller patrol vehicles, they get driven harder anyway. So you're not, you know, fuel economy doesn't get to be quite as heavy in the equation there. And I will say these particular Chevys, I know that they actually probably have some of the best fuel economy in the fleet. They're hitting around 20. It's a 4-cylinder turbo engine. It's not a big block. The feds were kicking in for a while on the efficiency piece off the Monroney sticker. So
Why don't we leave it with the chief and the lieutenant to shop around and make the best deal possible to satisfy the needs at that time,
I mean, he had budgeted 34,182 originally,
you know.
but, and obviously they're coming in at higher than that.
Budgets are gonna go down, Neil.
Oh.
Next year, we're gonna be probably,
Well, that's if he even gets it. I mean,
I
yeah. No,
I wouldn't be surprised if it's 10% over next year. Cause budgets are that terrible.
yes, agreed. I think if we could move on a couple of these trucks, I know it's gonna put us over the purchase price that's budgeted, and I'm full aware of that. I might be able to save some on the upfitting costs with those, like not having to put cages in them because of the function that they're going to have. So that'll save me a little bit of money on upfitting and equipment. So it'll bridge that gap, and then if we can identify something to trade in, but we've got some tired iron on the lot right now, just because we've had to wait so long to get vehicles.
Oh, sure.
And-
Eventually, they're gonna wear out, right?
Yes, and they have been. I mean, some of them we've benched just because. I mean, it's about a step up from walking. It's just, you know, and they're mechanical nightmares. Someone takes it for a spare for a week and it ends up in the shop for, you know, and costs us a few $100. It's not a good scenario.
I think we're kind of fooling ourselves if we think we're gonna get the price down to where, somewhere near where it was, because that doesn't work in America anymore.
No,
It's not
and
gonna
Oh,
happen.
oh, absolutely not, absolutely not. But as I say, my only concern is, and I get the whole non-pursuit thing, because I mean, we get right now what we can get, but I
Yes.
also want to make sure, and just make it clear, my thought is, I get the whole school resource
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and stuff like that, but I just want to make sure that your guys that are on the road, and I know you're thinking of the same thing,
Right.
that, you know, they've got a reliable vehicle.
Yes.
And obviously, it might not be a pursuit vehicle if we can't get them.
sure, absolutely.
That's my first and foremost.
I will tell you, as I told you about pulling his vehicle because it was fairly new, and we put that on the road because it was a nice new pursuit grade. We actually gave that to Sergeant Foley to take on patrol. The 5 F-150s that are pursuit rated, all 5 of those are going on patrol. So we've been trying to.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know they do,
Absolutely.
I know that that's what you guys are doing,
Right.
and I'm not trying to downplay your roles, but all I can think of is like, I'd rather you guys be in the old. Shit box, you know what I mean,
Yep.
and know that those guys.
Yes.
But I get.
And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's, I'm absolutely trying to do that. It wasn't about putting Sergeant Foley in a used vehicle. I mean, what did your car have on it?
I think it was 13,000.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
It was about putting him in a newer. And so I pulled his detective vehicle to leaving the detectives. I'm leaving the patrol upfitted vehicles on the road. And trying to use some of the non-pursuit rated stuff in other functions where it's not as likely. But to your point, there could be, if I can't get something, I can't give someone something that I can't get.
Right,
Oh,
oh, no,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
agreed, Matt,
yeah,
agreed,
yeah.
and I understand that.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, we're not gonna be able to get the specialized pursuit set up law enforcement vehicles
Correct.
that we always got in the past
Right.
with a certain chassis and a certain
Sure.
motor and whatever.
And I've tried to work with, I've got ghosted by, there's a dealership down, Colonial, I think down in Massachusetts, they're, a private outfitter, they'll buy vehicles on. Unless you're an established customer.
Yeah.
They won't even return a phone call. They've got those units sold, they know they have, and they want to take care of their customers, and from a business
And I get
standpoint,
that.
I
I get
do.
that.
I do too, and that's why I'm trying to exploit some relationships that I have. And I think that's the only reason why we got a Chevy bid, because that actually, the sales manager up there moved from Belfast. That's a relationship that
Yeah.
we had established already. So, and the local dealership didn't bid in, we gave them the opportunity, they didn't present.
Well, I think we gotta put a lot of trust in you people and shop around and see. Shop as best you can.
We will.
I guess that's all we can do.
Sure,
Do you still have money in your vehicle reserve account?
there should be a fairly substantial amount in there.
I don't,
I haven't, 0264, I don't have the. Don't have it in front
I
of
was
me.
looking at that, but we only got-
well, yeah,
Um,
I don't think he's used it all.
no, they haven't,
no, because when those trucks came in at the end of the year, I spent out the 7011 or capital outlay budget. And I took the residual out of emergency vehicle.
does
reserve.
152,000 sound right?
Yeah, that should be right around there. Yep.
Yep, okay, thank you.
So I mean, that'll help bridge.
Right.
And I try to use that as to bridge the gap while we're waiting for an insurance payout or something like. Actually, I just got a check yesterday. I don't know why we got it and Malcolm didn't get it, but I'm gonna send him an email and just let him know that. So we should be getting some more funds back in there. So nothing huge, but. Yeah, so that would be my last. That's always my last is to go to that, to try to use that. I really felt when we built the budget this year, I tried to be very reasonable. When we
Yeah,
did
no, you
that.
are.
And but I don't know if. I know we put in for 5 because we need it. We need those vehicles, but
Do you ever look in New Hampshire, man? I'm just throwing out there like, can we save anything in sales tax? I know we still have to write, no.
well, actually, we don't pay any sales tax.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Um,
No, we don't.
I mean, I'm thinking,
It's
just
just,
always take a flatbed down.
Yeah, well,
I don't know,
we offered that. I made the comment, I'm like, we'll get the retired sheriff to fly us down. And pick up 4 and come up, but I just can't get that place to sell them to me. I can't even get them to return a phone call. So, I mean, it's just,
No,
but anyway.
sorry.
So if you're, it seems like you're fine if we go ahead and maybe explore at least 2 of the Chevys right now,
Yeah,
because
no,
that's what I'm
I
asking
completely
for.
agree, I'm sure they're not gonna be like
Okay,
crazy pimped out things or something.
no, these are basic custom.
Oh.
It's, so if we go ahead and we'll do the 2 of those and then we'll see what we can do on the other.
we gotta do what we gotta do.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
even some SUVs or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's just, I spent some time trying to.
It
spec
doesn't
it.
make any difference if we go to another state because the
Oh, yeah, yeah.
same problem is about.
Oh, yeah, no, I was
Quite
just
different.
thinking, I know somebody in Portsmouth that literally just like. Got a vehicle with no problem, and they were bragging about how it was no problem, and I'm thinking.
Right. The governor will get you somewhere. So.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
nope. So that's really, Cody, do you have anything you want to add on those or? No, I don't. No, okay.
Wow, so you get promoted and then he takes your vehicle away, you see a pattern here, don't you?
Yeah, we,
Thank you for what you guys are doing.
thank you. You're welcome. We appreciate it. Appreciate this.
So you all set?
Yes, I'm all set with that, but I'm gonna
To the next thing.
sit in for the chair. He has MSA today, so I told him I'd hang around for that.
Okay, yeah,
Cody's gonna hang out because he's my ride.
okay. I gotta take a short break and.
Yeah.
There's donuts, and I don't say that because you guys are cops.
Representing Chris Winstead and myself, the Maine Community College System and the Harold Alfond Center for the Advancement of Maine's Workforce. That's a fancy way of saying the central office for the Maine Community College System workforce team. So we're basically working
Cody,
from
please
the
join us.
Augusta area to support our 7 community college campuses across the state.
What are the 7?
So you've got Washington County, Northern Maine, Eastern Maine, Kennebec Valley, Southern Maine, York County, and Central Maine, and Albany. So we cover the entire state regionally with community college programming, both on a credit-based 2-year associates or up to a 2-year associates. We also offer certificates in certain programs. We also then support workforce development, workforce short-term trainings, typically less than a year, anywhere from a day to a year on the workforce side, which is basically staff development, professional development, specific skills. We are willing to develop and partner with basically all Maine employers to help them reach their educational goals for their employment. And so effectively what I primarily focus on, just in the last year, I accepted the position at the community college system as a workforce coordinator. I came from Northern Maine Community College campus as business industry coordinator, working again with employers to enhance their workforce skills. And so what the impetus for this was, in addition to the Maine Jobs and Recovery Program funding, which is American Rescue Plan money that was allocated to the community college system, there's $35 million available that has been allocated to the 7 campuses to provide free, less than 1 year trainings. And that is being absorbed nicely across the state. We have a lot of folks working on medical assisting, LPN, electrical, business programming, just a variety of programs that the community colleges could expand and offer either online, remote, in person, but things that were in each campus's wheelhouse that they could quickly bring up and provide more free seats for. That is on top of the pre-community college programming that's available for the classes of 2020, 2021, 22, and 23, and now in the governor's budget, 24 and 25. So up to a 2-year associate's available for everyone in the state of Maine who's a high school graduate or GED holder. On top of that, the transactional funding that I like to speak about is the Harold Alfond grant that we received last year for $15.5 million. That effectively sets up a training pool for every employee in the state of Maine. The only people who are not qualified are the CEOs of large corporations because they can afford their own training, generally. Maine Community College System employees are barred because it would be a conflict, we believe. And volunteer boards such as town boards and others who do not receive compensation are not considered employees. Those are the only folks who can't qualify for our grant funding. Our funding is effectively a training pool. It's $1,200 per year per employee, and it is simply available on request. Any educational program that an employer or supervisor feels that is necessary for their employees, whether it's Excel training for business office folks or accounting classes. The HR conference is one that was very popular last year. We will basically pay 50% of the cost of that upon request. It has to simply be made as a request. Professional development, staff development, municipalities, school systems, no one is barred. So teacher workshop days will pay half the cost, saving your school budgets. Any professional development you want to do, an online course for $25 or an out-of-country program at the University of Oxford in England for someone to work on a master's program. We pay $1,200 for that person. And this is resettable each year. So basically between now and 2025, there's $3,600 in matching funds, 50-50, first dollar up to the top, up to $3,600 total, just upon request. And the catch, if there is a catch, because it's effectively free money, the catch is the administrative piece. So let's say, for example, you purchase training from an outside vendor. Penobscot EMA, for example, held a training on, I think, active shooter and response not long ago, and they pulled a lot of folks in from the region. They put on that training. They actually did the registration with us, but they hired someone to do the training. You register with that vendor, you pay for that vendor, but then you come back to us and say, we asked for funding. Here's everyone's registration, so we can show where the money went. So you have to register in a duplicate to us. And you have to report that everyone successfully passed or not. There's no refund required if someone doesn't pass a program. If they don't show up, we suggest strongly that you substitute someone on the day. Because I'd rather keep the same numbers. I don't want to get into a refund situation. But if someone can't show up and 19 people showed up and we paid for 20, then we'll figure out how we balance out that extra person who didn't show up that we paid for. So we'll figure that out. There are companies all across the state. There are over 1,000 who are now compact members. It's simply a one-page enrollment where the company says, I want to join. No obligation, no cost.
No cost to
Simply
join.
the reporting requirement of when you ask for money, we approve it. And you take the training, you report to it, you register with us, you report the
And you,
results.
the Alfond agency.
So they will, out of that funding through the community college system, the Harold Alfond Center, we will reimburse 50% of the cost of the training on an approval basis. We have to approve it ahead of time. We can't go back in time. So we can't cover trainings that occurred a month ago. You have to simply be a compact member, put in a funding request, which takes less than a day. It's literally a 3-page form online. Here's the training, here's the start, here's the end date, here are the people that I want to send, here's the cost per person and the total cost I'm asking for. We look at it within 3 or 4 days, we go, yes, okay, fine. And you get an email back saying, you've been approved for this training, here's how much we're funding, go have fun.
Because I'm such an incredible skeptic.
It's too good to be true.
Not really, yeah, no, quite frankly.
It is,
so how
I hear that.
So who pays for you? Because at this point, I'm
I'm part
thinking
of
if
the grant.
everything's free and there's
I'm-
rainbows and kittens.
My,
you know what I
my,
mean? Like,
my cost is embedded in the grant. We have 4 of me, myself and 3 colleagues. We also have an administrative staff that is administering the grant, so there are a couple of folks there as well. And then we fold it into our finance and accounting department, because we also have Maine Quality Center funding that's part of the biennial budget, which is a very small portion in comparison. But in the biennial budget, we always have some workforce grant funding.
How
that's
much
there.
do you
So
get in
we
the
have-
biennium budget?
I think it's about 1.4 million typically. So
So
this
you
grant's
guys had just-
$15.5 million,
Mhm.
and it's hard to give it away. In some ways, some folks catch on, and we have organizations that have gotten $160,000 so far.
Let's say if I understand this right, if we wanted to join today, we'd join. Doesn't cost us anything
Correct.
today, but we have a project we want to do in like 2 months.
Yep.
And you would split it with us, the
We
training?
would split the cost 50.
If it was
50.
approved, if it was approved.
And it will be, we don't deny anything unless you waited until after it started.
Right, okay.
As long as you, as the employer, think that this is a skill that your workforce needs, who are we to get in your way and say it's not? Now, an example, I'll use the extremes. Let's say you have an attorney in Portland who wants to learn how to tie flies, but he doesn't have a fly fishing business. It's not designed for him to go take a
Right,
tie fly class. It is designed, however, if he has a side business that he's opened a fly shop because he happens to be an expert in a certain river and a certain type of fly, if he wants to make a business out of that on the side, that's a workforce development activity we would support. So as long as it's workforce oriented, it's an investment in Maine's workers. We call them frontline workers, frontline employees. It's not intended for the CEOs and the folks who are making the decisions,
what if-
but it's
what if-
intended for folks who have to do the job and interact with the economy of Maine.
So if we were to send an employee to a 4-day event where there was training,
We would pay for 50% of
you
her
would pay
HR
for
conference.
50%.
You just ask for it, we'll put it in. We covered a lot of them last year.
Okay,
When the sheriff and I went to a presentation down to Rockland, down to URock on this. And, it was that presentation was about, they're trying to institute a new community policing
Mhm.
thing, and so this was targeted at us, and Jason and I got talking, the sheriff and I got talking about it, and like, well, it's one thing for the sheriff's office to join or whatever, but immediately we started talking about some of the other trainings that we send some of our, law enforcement guys to, or some of the conferences that we send some of the correctional staff to. And then, of course, we do have training lines, but wouldn't it be nice to double down on those? And then the other piece, we're just like, wouldn't this be valuable to some of the other places? Like
some of the other departments.
I was thinking about like maintenance, we're trying to get a new director and we got a fairly new handyman. What if we wanted to send them to an electrical school or something that we can and pay half of it? So
Yeah, no, as I said, I'm just
Yeah,
oddly like,
Exactly. what
why
it's
is
intended
this so?
It's a once in a lifetime. We've never had this flexibility. We've never been able to work with municipalities or government or nonprofits. We work with nonprofit agencies. We're working with organizations with one person all the way up to the largest employers in the state, Bath Iron Works. We're paying for training all the way in between for every frontline worker. It is too good to be true.
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah, we're
I'd
just trying
love
to get
some
the word out.
information. I'm on board at this point, if that's the case,
Yeah.
especially if we could pay for half
Yeah.
of the trainings that you guys come up with, we could have more.
Double your training
Trainings.
budget. Absolutely.
Now, what about supplies for trainings? That doesn't, no.
If they are integral to the training itself. So let's say, for example, we also, by the way, this is the really too good to be true one. If you have your own internal training department, figure out the cost center on that, so we get the accountants going. We'll pay your cost to train your own people. Because you can't find trainers.
Oh, no,
So yes, we will pay for internal training. Hannaford's a great example of that. They have their own training program for
Yeah.
some of their own staff. We're paying them to teach their own people in their own training program, which gives them an investment to then take that funding and say, well, what else can we do for training?
Sounds like a win-win.
yeah,
It's a win-win.
I
It
wish
really
Annette
is.
was sitting here right now. That's,
And you're not the first county. Other counties are involved. Penobscot County is already on board. Penobscot EMA is an example.
I
one that
would
they did.
ask
Their
when he
sheriff's department
leaves
did
that he
training.
goes and speaks with
I can
Annette,
go and introduce them to Annette. I know you guys.
Please do.
Yeah, well,
because she's like huge in the whole training.
yeah.
So it's nothing to sign it, no cost to sign up.
It's no cost, no obligation, one-page form. There is a memorandum of agreement that summarizes everything I just said. It's a page and a half. It is not a big legalese thing that you have to get attorneys involved in. It simply says, we agree to keep our own training records. You don't even submit invoices to us. We trust you because you
Which we
signed the
actually
MOA.
do. We keep all of that.
So
stuff.
you keep all of that anyway, keep it. If we get audited, we may come back in a couple
Right,
of years
right.
and say, hey, can you pull a file on that and show us what that actually cost?
Yeah.
Now, we do some checking when we're approving it. If we ask for a website, we ask for a contact person at the training organization. If it's not someone that we recognize, that we've ever seen, we might do a little due diligence and say, okay, is this legitimate training? Are you going to be doing this? When are you going to be doing it? Okay, great, thank you. So we verify before we approve. If it looks questionable, if you're taking a class at Maine, for example, what's the question? We know what it costs. So we'll approve that and give you 50% of the cost of that. So we can cover a couple of different ways too. Before I forget to cover it, the other benefit of being a compact member organization is your employees have priority to community college scholarships. So we have 50% scholarships for 3-credit courses. Think of your gen ed classes, math and English and other things, but also some of your basic accounting history. Folks who are working on finishing out a credential, or folks who thought, I'm never going to go to college. It's an incentive, a carrot being dangled. They can take up to 2 classes per term, 3 terms per year. For the next 3 years, that's 18 courses at 50% cost
Wow.
for 3-credit courses. Some of your
And
nursing
most
programs, for
people
example,
enjoy it.
are 4-credit. We don't
Yeah,
do
no,
that.
I'm
It's gonna be
off for it.
3-credit class.
Get the paperwork, we'll sign it. And I think
I
all the
think the sheriff
department heads.
has that, and I think the sheriff has the paperwork. I think he was ready, but he wanted to, we wanted to, instead of each department trying to join, just have the county join.
Yeah, have the
Much
county
better.
join, but I
And then-
really want you to go talk to our
And
net.
Absolutely.
I'll take
And then
it.
how you administer it, that's where you can break down within the county.
And that's-
who's keeping control of who's doing.
Sure, and
Oh, and it all needs to be funneled through Annette's office, through
But-
HR, if you don't mind.
And that's what I'm thinking, something like that, or whether we use the detail account to pay for half, so we can run that, but something
I
like
think-
that. But
No,
we'll do
I
it
was
some-
gonna say that's, yeah, each department would have their own training line
Right,
anyway,
right.
or detail for you guys, but I think any requests for training classes or anything like that, I would think would go through Annette, because she deals with HR, deals with
Right.
the training.
This is where it should, I think that's where it should be
So,
registered.
Yep,
So.
right from there,
I'll
but-
take your-
No, this is cool.
That is fantastic.
I'm
I hope they
nervously
extend.
skeptical, but,
Let's see,
Yeah.
have a motion that would, we do this and, I think we've told us enough that
yeah,
Oh,
no.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, I'll make that my motion and I look.
And I'll
for the
leave these for you. There's a
information.
couple of
Yeah,
different things there.
yeah, thank you I made a motion.
To, please help me out here, to enroll with.
Oh,
The Maine Workforce Development Compact.
blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Oh. No, cool. Yeah,
motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
yep.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that will
I'm gonna just grab a couple of these for her too, just so she has that. Thank you.
yeah, and that will really,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
thank you very much. Drive careful.
Yeah, definitely.
Everybody, okay, if we don't have a break, we'll move right along. Mr. Bailey, you back there?
There he is.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good day, sir.
Good day.
And who have you with you?
I have Ray Monreal, who's accepted the position of the part-time IT technician, so I want to formally introduce him to the commissioners and
Welcome.
he's starting today. I'm going through the process of running the meeting in the back there, so he'll be familiar with that and
Taking those phone calls.
yeah. Helped get a Wayne online this morning and everything, so we're,
Thank you for hooking her up.
yeah, no problem. So just wanted to formally introduce him and then I'll go through my report, but that was the first step.
Okay, yeah.
One thing I did want to bring up is, we did have a website outage for about a week and a half, last month, and
Did anyone notice?
I did, needless to say, on the phone calls and things like that. Barb probably noticed as well.
No, I got called yesterday.
Oh, okay.
But they hadn't been able to give it up and they obviously hadn't tried since then.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I am looking at options of finding a different company to host that and that sort of thing and possibly redesign it as well. Just because I've been running into issues with WordPress and the company we use is called GoDaddy, and I just have not really been real impressed with them lately. So I'm reaching out for quotes and that sort of thing.
They've really gone downhill.
Yeah, I haven't been real impressed with them lately, and their support has been to finally get up online. I had to pay like I think it was like $50 an hour or something like that to get it up, and I was like, why is this not included? But anyway, so I am working on that. It is up and running for now, but there are still some issues that we're working on. We did get a new printer, copier, scanner, faxer in for the comm center. I don't know if Mike had talked to you about that at all. We have a multi-function machine up there from Transco, and we've run into issues. It's been working off and on with a loaner for probably the last 7 or 8 months or so. And finally, we were sick and tired of it. So Mike just went out and purchased one from WB Mason, like an Epson that he can set up on a counter. And we just called Transco and said that, asked them to come pick the other 2 up. And we'll pay off the contract. I think there's only 3 or 4 months left in it. And we're just kind of done at this point playing there. And I get it with supply shortages and part shortages and all that stuff, but it was just frustrating and for everybody involved sort of thing. So we think this will probably save us money in the long run anyway. Sharon's PC up in the probate office crashed last week. I was able to get a new one up and running for her. She's, I'd probably say 90% up and running. I've got to get her scanner up and running for the software they use for probate. I think it's called Icon. I'm working with them to get that. I run into an issue on it every time with a new computer, and they always say, go through this 30-step process, and I can never get it working. So I'm waiting to get them to remote in and fix it in like 5 minutes. Finishing up moves around the sheriff's office, moving phones and computers and all that sort of stuff, and reassigning a sergeant's computer to this former detective, and the former deputy then gets that sergeant's computer and that sort of stuff. So we're working through that. Setting up a new employee up there as well. I did attend a training / overview the other day with some representatives from I almost said Governor King, but Senator King's office about the congressional direct spending that's available this year, and if we want to put in for anything for that. So I've reached out to some department heads, see if there's anything there.
That would be like what
Mike did
for
last
the
year.
comm center.
Yep. So I just, it's open again. I figured, the worst that they can say is no.
And they all have money, so.
Yep.
I mean.
Yep. So we figured if we
Yeah.
reach out to one, we reach out to all 3. Again, figured can't hurt to ask. Working again, still on finding out what MOUs and agreements other counties have in place with their cities that they dispatch for, cities that use their spillman or their equivalent of spillman, that sort of thing, and pulling that all together to see what are we doing the same, different, what don't we have in place, what maybe should we have in place, and I'll bring that hopefully to you folks, and I might ask for an executive session to go through that and see where we're lacking, maybe what should we be doing better, that sort of thing.
If I can just jump in there.
Yes.
So Jason and I had shared a conversation. In fact, I think we've all talked about like just an example, and we'll use generic towns and stuff, but
Yes.
we have Spillman, which costs the county a lot of money.
Yep.
And we also have small area departments who utilize our Spillman that don't pay any extra because they are indeed taxpayers to this budget.
Yes.
And so, you're kind of kicking around the idea, do we charge, do we not charge? And I had said to Jason, go forth and look, see what others are doing. And he had shared with me some information that he got from County X, where they were charging every municipality in their county.
Yeah.
For the Spillman.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
And I've got to tell you, I haven't lost sleep over it. It's not my county, but.
No, but it's,
But I find myself all of a sudden thinking like, wait a minute, what they're capturing by charging all these towns
yeah,
is actually more than what their communication center budget is.
and it's,
And you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I
and
find
it's-
myself thinking like, again, it all goes back to our budgets are composed of the municipalities and
Yeah,
counties, and
and
it's, to me, it's like almost like double dipping now. So now part of me is like, well, we can't charge anybody, because that's,
yeah, and it's from my point of view, just from a information finding project, I found it very frustrating because it's like everyone does it differently. I was hoping to find, you know, 10 of the counties do it this way, so that's probably the way it should be done. No, they all do it differently. Some counties are charging just to dispatch. Some counties are charging to dispatch and then more if you use Spillman. Some aren't charging anything. Some are doing a mixture of it. Some are charging to dispatch, but they're doing it through tax bases. You know, it's like a separate tax sort of thing and things like that. So it's
I don't know how they can legally do it.
such
I
a,
don't,
I don't either, I mean.
for
don't.
lack of a better term, it's such a hodgepodge of like solutions.
No.
Because we already charge municipalities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's very,
And what they make is more than their communication center budget. It's. just
yeah, it's very confusing, but I guess my goal at this point is to pull all that information together. Then I will present it to you and
We can. see
then
just
decisions
how
can be
hodgepodge
made
it
and
is.
things like that sort of thing. So I'm the fact finder at this point, but it's been interesting finding facts and then going down this rabbit hole and then going, oh, there's another rabbit hole here that opened up sort of thing. Another thing that we've had come up quite a bit is, and I was talking to Barb about it the other day, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, Barb, is the FOIA/FOA process.
Yeah.
The sheriff's office, I guess, has been getting a lot more requests for video and things like that. So they're, and I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I know the sergeant, that the admin sergeant up there has been working on it. And, you know, the example I got the other day was, you know, I'm getting this video request for, and I'm just going to make up an example, but if you have 4 deputies go out on something and it was an hour-long call, if you have 4 deputies that all have body cams and cruiser cams, that's now 4 cameras per deputy. So you've got 4 hours per deputy times 4 deputies is now 16 hours. If they have to go through the video, redact any video, all that sort of stuff and everything. So that may be something I kind of suggested to him, that he goes up through his proper channels and, you know, address that through the sheriff's office. And I said, you know, maybe that's something that needs to be examined and looked at sort of thing. I said, this is not my wheelhouse.
Charge for that? I know you can charge paper.
Again, I was like, again, that's not, I said, this is not my area of expertise. I said, but I think it needs to be looked at and, but again, that's just something maybe for your radar eventually. But I was like, you know, if it's an issue, I feel like it needs to be looked at, and especially from a, you know, cost point of view and a efficiency point of view and all that stuff. But I said, it's, you know, maybe something that we need to look at. And I guess my concern from my point of view was almost are we doing this the same way across the board? You know, whether they get a request come down here, or a request goes to dispatch, that sort of thing and stuff like that. So, and I definitely didn't want to sign up for taking that on as a project, but just want to throw it out there that it might be something.
Law
that-
enforcement information, wouldn't that be protected initially? I don't know
It
this.
depends on what it is, and this is as the public records officer, this is why I've taken courses over the years, and of course, they were not holding any during COVID, and I need to get back on track with that. I think I did take one last year. But this is the type of thing that gets talked about. What are the trends? How do you handle this kind of thing? You know, we have forms that the departments have had that you can't ask someone to fill it out, but they can fill out what someone's requesting, and then you have a record. that you've dealt with it, that you've
Mm.
taken care of it, or you didn't have the record, so therefore you couldn't produce it. And they do discuss these types of things of what is a public record, what is not a public record. So he raised this with me the other day, and I agree with him. This is growing arms and legs, and it's something we kind of need to get an umbrella over and a little process for, nothing complicated, but
Oh, yeah,
a
no.
way to show that.
But I
it's
almost think that
dealt with.
there's a confidentiality level there, maybe for like 72 hours or
Yeah.
something like that.
And I don't know, and I was talking to Barb about this the other day, and I don't want to speak for you. And I don't know the question I had, and again, not knowing what I don't know, so to speak. I don't know when a request comes in, we'll say for the sheriff's office or for the jail or for dispatch. If that's all supposed to be piped through like one person, if it's supposed to go to each department and they each have their own contacts, I don't know how that's supposed to work, you know, so
I know just from
I don't know,
cases,
so.
I know just from cases on the pool, on the risk pool. There's been certain situations, a lot of times like jail, very sensitive, like I'm saying confidential. That if there's a freedom of access request, it's like. Goes through the lawyer first, you don't give him anything, it
yeah.
goes like to the lawyer and then he says yep or no or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
but. Yeah, I really, there's some training and we
Yeah.
put in for that.
Yeah, yeah, and I just don't know if it needs to, and my only thought process was. If, or my concern, I guess, would be, if departments were handling it differently.
Yeah,
Should it all go through one person and that, and I'm not trying to throw Barb under the bus here, so again, I apologize. One person and that person says, oh, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, sort of thing.
no, I think it does.
Versus, or even this goes to the lawyer or whatever else. sort of
But
thing,
by the
yeah.
way,
It's been great because often their reference is the records disposition, believe it or not, because that will, in those. Series, it will say what's confidential and what is not, but occasionally things will come up that you just don't know, and they are great about contacting me. And at times they have contacted an attorney, you know, they've asked for permission to do that. And at one point by statute, these were supposed to go through the district attorney, and that quickly came to an end. Like, we don't have time to look at these.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, if we can't figure it out on the resources we have, then it does on occasion have to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, 200, but it should all be funneled to you.
Yeah. And I guess my thought process behind it was almost, and I was talking to Barb about this the other day, is almost. Whether it be paper, a 3-ring binder, or some sort of management system to manage all of these. So we know what's come in, if it's been responded to, all this sort of stuff, and if there are, you know, questions about it down the line, sort of thing, was the way my brain was almost handling it, but. Anyway, that's just kind of
We are away at that point, and so I will do some research on where we can. Figure, you know, get. Educated on how to have a system that's not too. Crazy hard for people to follow,
Yeah.
but a system of some sort that covers what we need to cover, so I'll be moving forward with that, and I was grateful that he came and talked to me about it, because. From his perspective, there are things I wouldn't think about, like I never deal with. Usually I've never had any questions about video or law enforcement stuff. They know, generally speaking, they know what they're doing, but things are growing and getting more complicated. And you brought it to my attention, hoping we could get ahead of it before it.
Yeah, and that was my concern, is that, you know, it's.
Yeah.
It is growing and it's gonna be, I don't see it going backwards, I guess.
Be proactive than
Yeah.
reactive.
So, anyway, that's all I had for you.
Well, thank you.
No sparkingly good news, sorry, but nothing nothing horrible either, so.
And I'm sure you heard the conversation,
I did.
and so keep in mind, if you have training
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Ray or Ray knows
Yeah.
of something that would help us all or whatever.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard.
Absolutely.
I
Thank
would
you.
ask that you get this gentleman a Waldo County insignia sweatshirt.
Yeah, I will reach out to.
Protocol, we're gonna meet, right?
Yeah.
Wear that.
Yeah.
It's gonna cost us money. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard, Ray.
Thank you.
Yeah, Barbara, we're up to you.
Don't have tons for you, but I did put a little list together so I wouldn't forget. Last time we talked about the fact that the county needs some sort of way for people to request funds that allows them to put what they're trying to do and what they need to do, and I borrowed from the county of Aroostook their way of doing it. Please, your names are, if you don't mind. passing that on. This is just a jumping off point. Take your time and look at it.
What,
And this is so people who say, hey, we were wondering if the county would be willing to donate such and
oh,
such.
yeah,
Or we were wondering what we need to do to get on your budget. That's some of that, but also
Okay,
response.
this is yours too, Bill.
We have a record that you actually entertained and looked and this made a
No, I
decision.
think that's good.
Yeah, that's, I think
I
that,
got a request from a gal up in Newport the other day.
that's not even our county.
No, but she had some customers in Unity or Birmingham or something. But I think this,
This one,
So you see Aroostook counties and then you see what.
Yeah,
can
no,
do
that's
something
that's
to it.
cool. I think that's cool.
Great.
be helpful.
I went ahead and took care of reschedule, and I told you that it had been rescheduled, but I had to resend a notice out for the tax abatement hearing that's been postponed to April 20th. So that went out as it has to by certified mail and regular mail to make sure they get it. All the 2023 municipal tax assessment letters were sent out in the middle of February on schedule. So those have been done. Sue's training is going really well. She's created the municipal devotion certificates and did an excellent job with it.
I've
She's-
actually already heard from a town. She sent them out.
Yeah.
I actually already heard from a town that they said
What was this?
the
yeah,
Spirit of America
I
Awards.
should backtrack.
And they wanted to know, they're like, does this selectman know that we got this? And I'm like, no. You-
There was a letter that
said-
went with it. They
Okay,
read
I
the
said
letter,
you-
They know what,
That way you'll present it
yes.
at your town
can
meeting.
you imagine this Bruce in Augusta couldn't see why we were doing this? Every town meeting has between 25 and 125 people or more. And you pass the certificate out to one of your board members, and everybody gets to clap their hands.
But people actually know who's being
Yes.
awarded.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I just know that the information has gone out
Good.
and these
good.
towns are like, so we do it at the town meeting and it's like, yes,
I'm sorry
read the
they
damn
didn't
paper.
read the letter, it was very clear, but that's okay, it's okay, but she's done a beautiful job with that, there's only 2 towns that we have been chasing, and we'll get them eventually.
Why do you mean chasing?
In other words, the list that Bruce provided, which was, it was kind of him to provide it, but he told me, he goes, I'm not 100% sure it's accurate. So she confirmed the longest serving governing official with each town, and there's 2 that haven't responded.
Who were they?
I think, no, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. She's got a list and she's kept track of it and she's followed up with it.
I think Cisco.
Fantastic job.
I don't know, but I mean, like,
But
I think so.
Because I mean.
the majority of them were out the end of February, so
Yeah.
you have them for their March.
Really, that's been really.
no, good, bye.
Yeah,
Cisco is really downhill now in the
Yeah,
town government. They've had a
right.
pile of people leave,
Just a bad.
Yeah, that's,
Constant.
turmoil.
Yeah.
so we'll move forward with the invitation. Will need to go out to the 2022 winners that we postponed till spring. That was, so we're gonna be moving forward with that too. Cleared out half of the 2016 files that met the disposition schedules, and I've recorded that at some point. When I've got that paper all filled out, I will present it to you to pass. They haven't been thrown out, but they will be at some point. And as you know, I'm just still trying to help our new folks here in the offices with questions they have, and they ask good questions and we try to get to the bottom of things so they can get their jobs done. But it does take some time. And that's all I have.
Is there any training that you think we could send Sue to?
Let me
I'm just-
research it.
I'm just kind of excited now. If we're gonna get involved in this, then
I'm sure we can think of a lot of
Sure.
stuff.
I know MMA does so much, but
But you know, if there's something local, like say if there's a program that she's gonna use a lot, Excel or Publisher to make, you know.
well, when
stuff.
Annette talked of that conference that she's attending,
Oh, that is perfect.
there might be some training classes there.
Well, and I'll look for public records training.
Yeah.
That should be every year anyway, so. Yes, I'm sure we can absolutely utilize that. It'd be a shame to let it pass. So that's it for me.
Okay. I don't have any miscellaneous business. Do any of you commissioners have any? Nobody,
I had an all-day Zoom executive session with council. that I was gonna report to you guys today, but I've been advised by council that as long as we are still waiting for final response from the other side, that I have nothing to report to.
Yeah.
So,
All right,
And I have nothing.
so let's move on, Bob, we're gonna have a meeting with, Trish, and then we'll have a little business after that,
Okay, want me to go get her?
yes,
Okay. Just gonna click save on my.
is she aware of this meeting?
yeah, she is, yeah,
Oh, okay.
because we had one with Annette, this is really, to give her a chance to, yeah.
I do like this idea of the letter, but the only thing is the way it's worded, it almost makes me feel like, listen,
He's
Jesus.
going into executive session very soon.
Okay, I just wanted to double check. I hadn't heard, so I wanted to,
Yeah.
and I apologize if it's.
You're like, "Oh." The only thing that I don't understand on this is it's budget requests, 2023 budget requests, which makes it almost sound like if they want to get into our budget,
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I do.
To place it at.
So I wonder if it shouldn't just be a financial request or something, I don't know.
We can, we'll kick it around.
Yeah, they want to get on the budget, and request money,
Yeah,
and there's a process for it, And each town has a process of how you get on, to request money, so, that makes sense that we should
Yeah.
have some process to it. So,
so rather than, put it on Bob all the time, when these people contact us, they just send out this piece of paper. And get it back and,
But with a process,
Yeah.
that we have
Yeah.
come up with,
Yeah.
so, right.
Barb, I would like to point out also, I think sometimes you don't give yourself the credit that you deserve. Ryan is the county administrator in Aroostook County, and quite frankly, I think you've got way more years and experience under your belt than he does. So I don't know why your name isn't signed on here. I think Bill is perfect. But I also think that this should come from the county clerk.
Well, when we revise it,
No,
to
yeah,
read
revise it.
Waldo County, then it
Yeah.
will be from Barbara, but
Yeah, I
that
think-
would just give us an idea.
yeah,
Yeah, I do,
And that,
I think it
That's
should
fine.
come.
Yeah, no, please make revisions as you wish.
and I think they're really, write up something.
Yeah, no, sure. Sure.
Waldo County.
okay, motion to go into executive session.
I will second. Second,
You heard.
that always scares me. Jesus.
All right, I got a motion that, I'm gonna make, Trish, and, we've given that a lot of consideration, and I think probably it's the best interests of, everybody. We've got good advice from, legal counsel. And my motion that I'm making is move to accept. Move for probationary employment to terminate Patricia Parker effective immediately. That's my motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded that the move for probationary employment to terminate Patricia Parker immediately. All in favor?
Can I ask,
And which close, we're not asking, we're not asking any questions. You get a letter in the mail saying the reasons for this. We're not gonna discuss it other than those words I just said. So Barbara will show you, go with you to pick up your things. You got a keys, a credit card, leave them and take your coat and your hat. And we'll pack up your stuff and get it to you quickly. You will get correspondence from us in regards to this motion the first of the week. That's it.
Okay.
You want me to help?
Yeah, if you would.
Yep. Right.
And I hate to do that. But,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
yeah,
Second, we are adjourned.